Hi everyone, today is Wednesday, December the 15th, 2021, and today I want to talk about psychology for a change. And strangely enough, I began to think about this. As some of you know, my morning routine is to watch Maneko 64's channel and get a bit of like a market update, and then I get ready, drop my kids off to school and all that. And on today Maneko 64's talk, and he talks about like how the control structures are ratcheting things up, like a stair step way to get people to the next level of control and then lock it there. That's what a ratchet is, right? But you get to that next stair step, like just think about it, right? The TSA thing, it never really went away. We're still taking off our shoes at the airport. What next? Iris scans, maybe. I mean, that's already happening, right? What next will be involved in your FICO score, your opinions, how you think, what you say, how agreeable are you, all those kind of things. And so Mario from Maneko 64 spoke about several things. I highly encourage you to go and listen to his video today. But nevertheless, I began to think about that sort of almost a struggle between doing what is right and having integrity and standing up for that versus doing what is expedient in order to just go with it. And this is why it's sort of this is why what I want to talk about today has more to do with psychology. Well, even though it does have something or the other to do with the finances and the economy and everything else, but because after all, I mean, what is finance, right? Finance is how you sustain yourself and how you earn and how you spend, and so much of that has to do with how you think and what you think will bring you happiness or fulfillment, etc. on the income, on the expense side of things, but also on the income side of things, what will bring you meaning and purpose, etc. So so anyways, while I was thinking about what the two like states of being that Mario was talking about in essence, I began to think about some of Dr. Jordan Peterson's lectures that I think it's the biblical series, where he talks about sort of this, when Jesus is the 40 days, or the metaphorical 40 days of Lent, where he's in the desert, and then he's confronted by Satan, and he's like, like, if you are God, jump, and God will save you. Or i.e., like the parallel to that would be like, if you trust in goodness, then like abide by control structures and you'll be saved. And it's like, no, because you too have a responsibility, as an awake being, to do what is right and not, right and righteous too, and not just go with it. And then, and Satan says like, like, I will give you all the kingdoms and everything if you like basically go on my side, so to speak. And I'm paraphrasing. And Jesus is like, something about like, what's the point of ruling the whole world, and like, man does not live by bread alone, kind of thing. So, and yeah, I mean, and the point of that is like, you may have all the bread in the world, but if you don't have that kind of self-respect and that knowledge that you've lived with integrity, it's all going to go to shit. Because anyway, so I began to think about that, and I began to think about Dr. Jordan Peterson's book 12 Rules for Life, specifically rules number 7 and 8, because this is where it kind of goes into that psychology, neuropsychology, and I'll try not to make it very technical neuropsych, even though I may tend to, and I'll try not to, because some of this stuff is fresh in my mind, because as part of my doctoral I just studied neuropsych like a couple of terms ago, which is pretty recent. In my memories, it's all like the lessons of the neurons and all are very fresh in my head. So I'll try not to make it too technical. But in Dr. Jordan Peterson's rule number 7, he says, do what is meaningful and not what is expedient. And rule number 8 is tell the truth, or at least don't lie. And now, when he talks about these two different, these two rules, basically, the first one is more about kind of, really understanding what your part is in things, because it's very easy to blame, right? It's very easy to paint yourself out to be a victim and to say, oh yeah, you know what, yeah, this happened, and yeah, I had to do this, otherwise I would not keep my job, or I had to do that, or I have to get tested every week, whatever bullshit, right? Whatever. And this is like, this goes to like all kinds of things, like, okay, even in like, say, the cashless thing, right? It's harder to write a check and mail it. Instead, I can just like digitally transfer. But hold on a second, where's this really going? Think critically like that. I mean, you can very easily like just brush all that aside and say, you know what, yeah, I did what I had to do, kind of thing. And that's fine, as far as like giving yourself, self-forgiveness and all that. That's fine. But when you're in the gulag, and he really, Dr. Jordan Peterson, I'm talking about, he talks about like Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and when he talks about sort of how Solzhenitsyn had this sort of, awakening realization, like when he was in the gulag camps, where he said, wait a second, where did I agree to things where I shouldn't have? Where were those small micro steps that I could have taken, but I didn't speak up because it was like more expedient? And that chapter really like spoke quite a bit to me, because I used to work in corporate America, and I have worked in academia as an operations director at SCU, and I've lived through some of those things where you say, well, you help certain sociopaths, and if you're listening, you know who you are. You help certain sociopaths with their agenda, so to speak, because you rationalize it. It's convenient. She's your boss. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I know what you're trying to do to this person, and if I sit down and reflect on it, my conscience will tell me that it's wrong, but whatever. And then when the person puts you in the same spot that they were putting somebody else they were trying to corner, then you're in the gulags, then you're in that spot that Alexander Solzhenitsyn was in, where he went, hold on, where did I know this person was devious, and I maybe even enabled them a little bit. And then when you get to that point, right, you're like, okay, now what can I do? And now in this moment going forward, what can I change? Because you can't change the past, but you can effect affect is your expression. You can effect um, what what you do going forward. And that's where sort of Jordan Peterson goes into rule number 8, and that's where it really ties into how your brain is structured, how your neurons are structured, how these I'm going to describe them to lay people as like this thin little like wiring and connections that occur within your brain that are very fine, like electrical impulses that get strengthened the more you use them, and die off the less you use them. In a sense, like a baby dies into their language, because a baby is born able to make all sounds. However, some sounds get weeded off, certain intonations get weeded off, certain I don't know what the word is, but yeah, certain things get weeded off because they're unnecessary or deemed unnecessary, and that's kind of the ones that remain are what what the environment like, or what is required, so to speak. And that's why you'll have like we learned something about like how the Japanese and the letter L and the letter R are kind of they'll merge them or they'll replace them, because at the very formative years that language those settings have kind of been set. However, epigenetics shows that those can be rebuilt. And how do you rebuild them, right? That stuff is sort of in conjunction with studying neuroscience or neuropsychology, and Jordan Peterson's rule number 8. By telling the truth, or at least pausing when you know that something is not true, this is false, and you're not going to say it, because by just pausing at that, you are not strengthening that neuron that will continue with your pathological pattern, right? And then as you think, as you reflect, as you speak your truth in an environment where you can get proper feedback on where your thinking is correct or where you might be flawed, and then having that kind of conversation with people who are true and who really want to have a conversation with you, not and there's a lot of people who want to have just fake conversations. I'm not talking about that sort of, with those sort of people, just pull back. No need to throw pearls before swine, so to speak. Where people are willing to give you that feedback and engage in that dialogue with you. Those are the places. And I have to say, we are seriously limited in that kind of opportunity, especially lately, especially with all the in-person masks and all that, because how are you going to read somebody properly and fully unless you drop your masks, literally and figuratively. So yeah, anyway, so with all this stuff came up for me in my mind when listening to Mario's talk today. Because he was talking about how angry it makes him that we have to sort of live in this a bit of a psyop, a psychological operation, quite literally. Because it's almost where the control structures want to and they're getting desperate. I agree with him on that. And it's almost like it is in some ways easier, quote unquote, easier to go with narratives, to go with the flow, so to speak, and to kind of stuff one's convictions and what one knows to be true, or at least one's own one's own truth, and what one sees in one's own immediate lived experience. However, and that temptation is there, no doubt. However, the rubber really meets the road when you're sort of in those gulag moments of your life, and when you have to question yourself and ask yourself, where did I take the shortcut? Where did I not allow my own, where did I not what is the word, preen or prune, yeah, like cut off the dead parts that don't work for you anymore, and do allow those little buds, because even in a rose, in a plant, like you have to prune the plant. And of course, in pruning those dead bits that are not going to go anywhere, you have to I'm sure there's some pain in that plant, right? But in doing that, you're allowing the ones that really have that potential to bloom and blossom. And it's very important to do that with your own self, with your own brain, really with your own brain. And there are very simple tips and techniques to do that with your own brain. Some are like, if you drive a certain way, to go to a certain place, take a different route. As my favorite monk Ajahn Brahm says, it's like, go get lost every now and then. Go get lost, because it's your brain will be forced to think and understand new ways of doing things. If you always brush your teeth from one side to the other, try the other way, because your habit will force you this way, but try the other way. Live dangerously, is what the monk says. It's really funny how he says it. He's like, hey, live on the wild side, brush your teeth from the other side. And it's but what he's saying makes a lot of sense, because it's what he's basically saying is, nurture those different neurons. So anyways, I'll stop right there. Thank you for listening, and let me know what you think, if you want to engage in the comments below. Take care. Bye.